It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me but yeah, just protecting those moments because
In a courtroom showdown no one saw coming, P. Diddy completely lost his composure, sparking chaos that rocked the trial to its core. The drama exploded further when pop superstar Justin Bieber unexpectedly threw his support behind Cassie, turning the case into a high-profile media frenzy. Tensions skyrocketed as alliances shifted, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Here's the explosive story behind the headlines. In a striking development that has further intensified public interest in the ongoing legal saga involving Sean Diddy Combs, attorney Tony Busby amended the original civil complaint to include a new and high-profile figure, music mogul Sean Jay-Z Carter. This revelation came just weeks after the initial filing and sent shockwaves through both the entertainment industry and legal circles. The amended complaint accuses Jay-Z of allegedly participating in conduct connected to the core allegations of abuse and exploitation that have surrounded Combs for months. While the exact nature of Jay-Z's alleged involvement remains under seal in certain court documents due to their sensitive content, the very act of naming him as a co-defendant signals a dramatic escalation in the scope and implications of the case. Sources close to the legal team suggest that Busby's amendment was based on emerging evidence that placed Jay-Z at locations or events relevant to the accusations, though it remains unclear whether he is accused of direct misconduct or of enabling a broader culture of abuse. For legal experts, this amendment marks a pivotal shift in the case's narrative. Jay-Z, known for his meticulous image control and deep influence across both music and business sectors, has not commented publicly on the filing. His legal team, however, is expected to respond swiftly and forcefully to challenge the validity of the claims and seek removal from the complaint. Still, Busby's decision to name such a powerful figure suggests he believes the evidence is strong enough to withstand early legal pushback. At the heart of the defense's next move lies a key procedural and strategic request: access to the electronic video evidence reportedly collected by federal authorities. Diddy's legal team has filed motions seeking the release of digital video files currently in the possession of government investigators. These videos are believed to be central to the allegations, potentially containing footage from private residences, surveillance systems, or even mobile devices that corroborate or refute claims made by the plaintiff. Legal scholars explain that possession of such digital evidence offers a substantial advantage in a high-stakes defense. Having access to the original, unaltered files allows defense attorneys to conduct their own analysis, pausing, zooming, enhancing audio, and comparing timestamps against alibis or witness statements. In essence, they would not need to rely solely on prosecution-managed viewing sessions, which limit how often and how thoroughly the defense can review key materials. Diddy's attorneys argued their request is supported by the federal rules of criminal procedure, which permit defendants access to electronic data in the government's custody if it is considered material to the preparation of their defense. They emphasized that having control over the videos is essential for forming a fair rebuttal to the plaintiff's claims and for cross-examining any witnesses who reference the footage. However, Judge Annalisa Torres Subramanian denied the motion, for now. In her ruling, she acknowledged the defense's right to review the material, but upheld the government's position that unrestricted release of such sensitive content could compromise privacy and safety, especially if the videos depict intimate or graphic scenarios involving alleged victims. Importantly, the judge's denial was issued without prejudice, meaning the defense can revisit the request as the trial progresses or if circumstances change. Still, the government offered alternatives. Prosecutors proposed controlled access in designated viewing rooms, scheduled sessions supervised by federal personnel, and even some digital manipulation tools that would allow the defense to zoom or enhance footage without exporting or duplicating the files. While this compromise provides some room for the defense to work, it's far from the full access they had hoped for. In the meantime, the inclusion of Jay-Z in the lawsuit and the looming battle over video evidence have dramatically raised the stakes. What started as a singular civil case against Diddy is now a potential exposé of a much broader network of alleged misconduct among some of the music industry's most powerful figures. The amended complaint signals that this legal fight is not just about one man's downfall. It may open the door to a far-reaching reckoning within the upper echelons of entertainment. Judge Annalisa Subramanian's ruling on the defense's motion for unfettered access to the government's trove of digital video evidence was a study in judicial balance, firm in protecting sensitive material, yet flexible enough to avoid later claims of unfairness. In a 7-page order read into the record, she denied the motion to amend the existing protective order, but did so without prejudice, signaling that the door remains ajar if circumstances change or if the defense can articulate a narrower, more tailored request. At issue are dozens of encrypted video files, surveillance footage from luxury hotels, private jet interiors, and smartphone clips, seized during the federal investigation of Sean Diddy Combs. Defense counsel argued that true parity in preparation demands possession of the raw files, not prosecution-controlled viewing sessions. They cited Rule 16A1E of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, which obliges the government to produce all items material to preparing the defense. Subramanian agreed that Rule 16 sets the baseline, but she emphasized that protective order conditions trump wholesale disclosure where privacy, safety, or potential witness intimidation is at stake. Her order invoked two guiding precedents: United States v. Delaney, 2nd Circuit, 2019, and United States v. Starkman, SDNY, 2021, both allowing courts to limit direct copying when the evidence contains graphic or highly sensitive depictions of minors or alleged sexual exploitation. She noted that many of the seized clips fall squarely within that category. Any leak, intentional or otherwise, could irreparably harm alleged victims and taint the jury pool. Still, Subramanian rejected the prosecution's initial suggestion that the defense relies solely on government-curated highlight reels. Instead, she fashioned a 3-tier compromise: secure viewing suite. The government must provide a dedicated, access-controlled room within its downtown Manhattan facility. Defense attorneys, paralegals, and certified digital forensics experts may schedule unlimited sessions, escorted only for entry and exit. Forensic Workstation, a government-owned computer loaded with industry-standard analysis tools, Magnet Axiom, Cellebrite Inspector, Adobe Premiere, will allow the defense to pause, zoom, enhance audio, and export time-stamped screenshots, so long as the faces of non-party minors are pixelated. Independent expert option. The defense may retain a neutral forensic examiner, jointly approved by both sides, to produce written reports or annotated clips. Those derivative files, however, remain subject to the protective order and cannot be shared outside the litigation team. The judge further invited the defense to renew its request if it identifies discrete segments that it must possess. For example, a 45-second hotel hallway sequence central to an alibi theory. In such a scenario, she signaled a willingness to consider encrypted handoff of that single clip, possibly after a confidentiality undertaking and with digital watermarking to trace leaks. Prosecutors accepted these terms, adding a practical concession. Defense staff may bring their own external keyboard, mouse, and color-calibrated monitor, acknowledging that forensic review is pointless on a 14-inch laptop. They balked, however, at defense requests for remote VPN access, calling it a nightmare for chain of custody. Reactions were mixed. Defense lead counsel Marissa Chen told reporters that although the ruling was not ideal, Subramanian had left us a pathway to eventual full access. Legal analysts agreed, noting that the without prejudice language prevents an interlocutory appeal for now, but arms the defense with leverage later. One former federal prosecutor predicted a rolling discovery war, with each side testing the boundaries of the order as trial strategies crystallize. For alleged victims, the ruling offers reassurance that their images will not be splashed across tabloids, yet it also preserves the defendant's Sixth Amendment right to independent review. Subramanian closed the hearing with a pointed reminder to both parties. Should any portion of these files surface outside this courtroom, I will consider sanctions, including contempt, for every individual in the chain of custody, counsel included. About Cassie, she took a slow breath before addressing the court, her voice steady, yet edged with the kind of vulnerability that can only come from lived experience. She explained that, for years, the glittering promise of the music industry had masked a darker reality, one where constant surveillance, emotional manipulation, and threats of retaliation were routine. "I was 19 when I signed my first contract," she began, eyes sweeping the jury. "Back then, I believed every door that opened was a dream come true. I didn't understand that some doors lock behind you." She described early warning signs, late-night demands to appear at private parties, unexplained studio sessions that turned into hours-long interrogations about where she'd been and whom she'd spoken to. Each episode, she said, chipped away at her sense of autonomy until she no longer trusted her own decisions. "Imagine being told you're a star one minute and an ungrateful nobody the next," Cassie said. "After a while, you stop asking what's normal and start asking how to survive." The singer admitted she had stayed silent for years, out of fear that speaking up would end her career and put her family at risk. She recalled a moment in 2015 when, after canceling a performance due to exhaustion, she received 17 frantic text messages in under 10 minutes, each one escalating in anger. "I was told, point blank, that if I ever embarrassed the brand again, I'd never work another award show," she said. "I believed it because I'd seen it happen to others." What transformed fear into resolve, she testified, was watching younger artists echo her own path. Cassie said she recognized the same glaze of confusion in their faces at industry events, the guarded smiles, the nervous laugh whenever a powerful executive drew too close. "I realized my silence wasn't just protecting me," she explained. "It was protecting the very system that hurt me, and might hurt them next." Cassie then shifted her focus to the broader industry. She asked the court to see her case as a line in the sand for performers who lacked resources or leverage. She spoke of backup dancers paid per diem yet pressured to attend parties, of assistants whose phones were confiscated so no one could film what happened after hours. "These people don't have lawyers on speed dial," she said. "They have rent due." Her voice cracked only once, when referencing a friend who left music entirely after being blacklisted for refusing an invitation to what Cassie termed a private audition. Turning to the jury, she stressed that her goal was not revenge, but prevention. "If sharing my worst memories keeps one 19-year-old from feeling cornered, then reliving them here is worth it." She emphasized that healing requires community, not isolation, and pledged to build a support network for survivors. Scholarships for artists who walk away from toxic contracts, partnerships with mental health nonprofits, and a confidential hotline staffed by peers. "We hear slogans about empowering women," she said. "Let's fund it. Let's staff it. Let's prove it." Cassie concluded with a direct appeal to anyone still enduring abuse. "You're not difficult. You're not dramatic. You're in danger, and you deserve help." The courtroom remained silent for several seconds after she stepped down. No rustle of papers, no whispered sidebars, only the sound of a witness reclaiming her narrative and, in doing so, offering others a way out of the shadows. Day 2 of the trial took a dramatic turn when the prosecution unveiled what they described as undeniable contemporaneous evidence, directly contradicting Sean Diddy Combs' central defense, that Cassie had fabricated her allegations for money and fame. The courtroom fell into a tense silence as the lead prosecutor stepped forward, a slim black folder in hand. "Your Honor," she began, her voice calm but firm, "we are prepared to introduce evidence that undermines the defendant's credibility and directly supports the plaintiff's timeline of abuse." Judge Marla Subramanian gave a nod of approval, and the prosecutor connected a tablet to the courtroom display system. As the lights dimmed slightly and screens around the room flickered to life, the room braced for what was to come. The prosecutor brought up a series of text messages exchanged between Cassie and pop star Justin Bieber, dated late 2017, years before Cassie ever filed her lawsuit or made any public accusations. The messages were displayed in large, clear type. In one, Cassie wrote, "I don't know what to do anymore. He monitors everything. If I talk to anyone, he'll make sure I never work again." The response from Bieber appeared immediately below. "This isn't normal, Cass. What he's doing isn't okay. You need to talk to someone who can help." As the words appeared, several jurors visibly shifted in their seats. One leaned forward, squinting at the screen. Another placed a hand over her mouth. The effect was immediate. Unlike testimony or character witnesses, these were raw, time-stamped messages, proof that Cassie had voiced her fears long before the lawsuit, directly contradicting Diddy's claim that her allegations had emerged only after their relationship ended and her career stalled. The defense team's composure cracked. Diddy, seated beside his lead attorney, suddenly stood up so forcefully his chair scraped loudly against the floor, startling the entire courtroom. His face flushed a deep red, his jaw clenched tight. "This is all lies!" he shouted, pointing at the display. "You know damn well that's not what happened." His lead attorney grabbed his arm, whispering, "Sean, don't do this," audibly enough for reporters in the first rows to catch. But Diddy wasn't listening. He yanked his arm away and gestured angrily toward the screen. "They faked those messages! Justin never said that! This is a setup!" Judge Subramanian didn't hesitate. She slammed her gavel 3 times, her voice slicing through the uproar. "Mr. Combs, sit down immediately or you will be removed." 2 security officers advanced toward the defense table, positioning themselves between Diddy and the rest of the courtroom. Cassie remained seated, her expression unchanged, hands folded neatly in her lap. She didn't react, not when Diddy shouted, not when he accused her of betrayal. Her composure stood in stark contrast to his public unraveling. The judge ordered the jury to be escorted out as Diddy continued ranting. As the bailiff led them away, jurors cast lingering looks at the defendant, eyes wide, some faces pale. The outburst, paired with the damning messages, left an indelible mark. Legal experts in the gallery exchanged knowing glances. One former federal prosecutor whispered, "He just lost this case." With the jury gone, Judge Subramanian stood delivering a stern reprimand. "Mr. Combs, this is a court of law, not a recording studio. You do not control what happens here." She ordered a full psychiatric evaluation, revoked Diddy's phone privileges, and imposed a strict rule. No lawyer could speak with him unless security was present. The prosecution's evidence had done more than discredit Diddy's narrative. It had triggered a breakdown that revealed a side of the music mogul the public had never seen. The image he had spent decades cultivating, calm, collected, in control, crumbled in a matter of minutes. More than just a turning point in the trial, the moment signaled a dramatic shift in the court of public opinion. Security protocols also changed on the spot. 2 armed officers were assigned to stand within arm's reach of Combs for the remainder of the trial, visible to jurors and gallery alike. His phone privileges were revoked. No devices, no messaging, no unsupervised internet access. Most striking, even his own attorneys lost unfettered contact. Every conversation would now occur under silent observation by a court officer, ensuring that no further attempts to conceal or destroy evidence could slip past unnoticed. Subramanian concluded by reminding the defense team of their professional duty. "Counsel," she said, turning to the shell-shocked lawyers, "maintain control of your client. If you cannot, the court will." The gavel came down with finality, and the once boisterous courtroom fell silent except for the scribble of journalists' pens. When the bailiff reopened the doors and the 12 jurors filed back in, their collective demeanor had changed so visibly that even casual observers could read it. Gone was the mild curiosity that had colored their faces earlier in the day. Instead, there was distance, physical, emotional, and unmistakably judicial. Juror number 3, who had spent most of the trial leaning slightly toward the defense table, now angled her chair a few inches away. Juror number 6, a middle-aged man who had been taking meticulous notes, set his pen down and crossed his arms, eyes narrowed. And juror number 8, a young tech consultant who had smiled at Combs during openings, would not so much as glance in the defendant's direction. His gaze stayed locked on the witness stand, jaw clenched. Body language specialists seated in the gallery whispered among themselves. The consensus, the emotional calculus of the case, had shifted decisively. Where once the jury might have weighed she said, he said testimony, they were now eyewitnesses to the defendant's volatility, an outburst that dovetailed with allegations of control and intimidation. Legal analysts quickly followed suit. A former federal prosecutor texted a cable news producer. "Self-inflicted wound. Explosive conduct corroborates pattern." Another expert, a veteran defense attorney, told a reporter, "Juries forgive many things, but they don't forget what they see with their own eyes. Combs just acted out the prosecution's theory in real time." Even subtle courtroom choreography betrayed the new dynamic. During recesses, jurors who once strolled past Combs without hesitation now clustered near the bailiff's station. When proceedings resumed, several sat rigid, hands folded, as if anxious to avoid any inadvertent provocation. The prosecution noticed, too. Lead counsel, normally stoic, allowed herself the briefest glance at the jury box, eyes flicking from one closed-off posture to the next, before refocusing on her questioning with renewed confidence. For the defense, the damage control became obvious. Combs's attorneys softened their tone, avoided objections that might appear abrasive, and even repositioned their client farther from the gallery rail. Yet the impression had settled. In a trial hinging on credibility and control, Diddy's meltdown offered jurors a vivid, unfiltered lesson. No cross-examination required. By day's end, the courtroom's emotional center of gravity had migrated entirely away from the defense. Cassie's calm testimony stood in stark relief against Combs's fury, and Judge Subramanian's sanctions underlined who truly held power in the room. Whether or not new evidence emerges, one thing is certain: the jury has already seen enough to change how they listen to everything that follows. There is a notable detail. As the courtroom descended into chaos during Sean "Diddy" Combs' explosive outburst, Cassie Ventura sat silent, unflinching, unmoved, and unmistakably composed. Where Diddy had shouted, pointed fingers, and accused her of faking evidence before being physically restrained, Cassie simply kept her eyes forward and her hands folded in her lap. Her stillness spoke volumes. It was not just a moment of contrast. It was a cinematic portrait of restraint facing off against rage. Legal experts and jury analysts noted how her calm demeanor bolstered her credibility, particularly given the nature of the allegations: manipulation, threats, and emotional abuse. Watching her remain composed under pressure, while the accused lost control before their eyes, likely solidified in many jurors' minds who was telling the truth. One body language specialist remarked that Cassie's posture was textbook for truth-telling. Open shoulders, level eye contact, breathing steady. She looked like someone who had nothing to hide. This contrast did more than highlight their individual states of mind. It painted a broader picture of their relationship and mirrored the testimony she had already given. Cassie had described a world in which Diddy's temper dominated her daily life, a world filled with surveillance, gaslighting, and fear. So when Diddy screamed across the courtroom in real time, it wasn't just a loss of composure. It was, in effect, a confirmation of her lived experience, acted out in front of the very people deciding his fate. While his legal team scrambled to mitigate the fallout, their client's behavior had already become a narrative device the prosecution couldn't have scripted better. Cassie's poise, juxtaposed with Diddy's volatility, may prove one of the most influential nonverbal testimonies of the entire trial. Beyond the courtroom, the ramifications of this trial are already reverberating through the entertainment industry. This unexpected revelation has set off quiet waves in celebrity circles. Multiple sources suggest that other well-known artists and insiders, some of whom allegedly witnessed inappropriate behavior over the years, are now reconsidering their silence. Legal observers note that Bieber's support could act as a cultural permission slip, signaling that it's not only safe but necessary to speak out. With Diddy's brand already hemorrhaging from multiple lawsuits, canceled business deals, and public backlash, the floodgates may be opening. Whispers of potential testimonies from backup dancers, former producers, and even high-profile ex-partners have gained traction in legal gossip circles. Attorneys familiar with entertainment law suggest this could evolve into a Harvey Weinstein-style reckoning, one where silence is no longer socially or professionally defensible. In such cases, it often takes just one high-status figure to create a domino effect. Bieber, with his massive following and long-standing public image as a redeemed star, may be that catalyst. Already, advocacy groups have begun amplifying Cassie's message. Organizations that focus on protecting women in music and media have released statements applauding her strength and encouraging others to come forward. Industry insiders say that if even a handful of others echo Cassie's accusations, merely corroborate her depiction of Diddy's behavior, he could face additional legal challenges and a collapse of whatever public goodwill remains. What do you think about Cassie's testimony and Justin Bieber's notable support for her in Diddy's case? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.